Welcome to TVS News. I'm Christina Pollard. It's great to have you with us. In this week's news, Hawkesbury residents angry over bridge closures, radioactive waste on its way to Kemps Creek, and kids road test this year's Royal Easter Show Showbags. But first, angry Hawkesbury residents say authorities overreacted by closing two major bridges for nearly 24 hours in the flood-affected region. The overflow of Warragamba Dam saw both Windsor and North Richmond bridges close on Saturday, cutting the two major routes out of the area. Residents west of the Hawkesbury Nepean River were forced to divert on a 6-hour round trip to get out, despite floodwater remaining under both bridges.
I'm not very happy, and I think they've overreacted. I think they're panicking about what happened in Queensland.
Flood safety advice is available on the State Emergency Service website. In police news, 3 men were arrested this week over the fatal shooting of 25-year-old Matthew Hedges in Chester Hill last year. Emergency services performed CPR, but Mr Hedges died at the scene. A man faced Burwood Local Court this week, charged with importing an illicit chemical and manufacturing the drug ice. Police went to 2 units in Burwood and found a clandestine laboratory in 1 unit that they will allege was being used to manufacture the drug ice. A man was charged with manufacturing large amounts of a prohibited drug, dealing with the proceeds of crime and importing a prohibited chemical. A man has been charged over a series of armed robberies in Sydney's northwest. The robberies took place in Marsfield, Eastwood, Carlingford, West Ryde and Meadowbank from December 6 last year. On Wednesday, police from Strikeforce Orara charged a 20-year-old man with 13 offences, including aggravated robbery with wounding, armed robbery and theft. He was refused bail and will reappear in Burwood Local Court on March 14. 5 Army Black Hawk helicopters from Holsworthy's 6th Aviation Regiment will roar over Sydney this month as part of their training. The exercises, which are scheduled 3 times a year, ensure aircrew are trained for flying in all conditions in urban and rural areas. On Tuesday, media were invited on board 2 choppers for an adrenaline-fuelled experience over Sydney Harbour. Regiment spokesman Major Matthew Williams said residents living close to the training locations will be notified by mail. Flights will occur during the afternoon and evening for another week and a half. A Cronulla schoolboy has received a New South Wales Ambulance Star Award for saving his father's life. 9-year-old Luke Weddersweiler was kayaking in the Royal National Park when his dad Mark had a seizure and fell from his kayak. Luke held his father's head above water and called to nearby fishermen who helped them to shore. Luke said kids should always wear a life jacket whenever they go in a kayak. Radioactive waste is on its way back to Kemps Creek. Soil with low-level radioactive contaminants will be dumped at the CETA facility. Residents say the state government promised 5 months ago that waste would be tested at Hunters Hill with any hazardous material to be removed and separated. But now the government's view is that low-level radioactive waste is no longer hazardous. Liverpool Mayor Wendy Waller said it was irresponsible of the company to accept radioactive waste from the government. Thirlmere residents are calling for People Power to stop an ex-strata coal plan to build a ventilation shaft close to homes. The action group, Shafted, says the shaft will fan pollutants and gas into the air over Thirlmere. Last month, residents attended an information day at ex-strata coal, but say their questions were not answered.
We got very vague answers. We asked a number of questions. How high would the stacks be? They said that they would be above the tree lines, but could go higher if there was noise or pollution. That would be have to be decided later on. We asked how many fans was to be there. They weren't sure about that either. How much dust was to be admitted in 24-hour period. Couldn't answer that either.
Michael Williams, a former Illawarra coal electrical fitter and mechanic, says the fans will be noisy and will spray dust over the area.
My concerns are noise and also pollution, which I know from past experience in the mining industry that fans, especially exhaust fans, which is ones we're told it's going to be, will spit out dust and also we know gas, but the dust they tell us is going to disperse in the atmosphere, but what goes up has got to come down. That's just common sense.
Shafted will hold an information day at Thirlmere Public School this Saturday at 5 p.m. An Xstrata Coal spokeswoman said benefits of building the shaft included a less visible presence, improved efficiencies and safety, and reduced traffic. Smithfield residents are fighting plans for high-density housing and a 20-metre height limit in Murray Street. The proposal is included in Fairfield Council's draft local environmental plan. Bernadette Sinclair fears the street will eventually become a slum area, while Chris Lacono is worried about congestion and property devaluation. The residents have signed a petition which will be submitted to the council. Western Sydney women were recognised for their achievements on International Women's Day this week. The University of Western Sydney's Women of the West Awards showcase the contribution women make to the community. Woman of the West winner, Lee Hicks, was awarded for her commitment to employing and training young people from Greater Western Sydney.
It's a recognition of all the things that we've put back, and I say we because I haven't done it alone. I've got a mum who's always been there to kind of encourage me to do that and have that concept of giving back to your community.
2012 Young Woman of the Year, Krista Anthony, was recognised for bringing dance, singing and drama to families of children from disadvantaged backgrounds.
I'm very humbled, first of all, because looking especially at the other two nominees, I thought to myself, they're wonderful. And, you know, I feel so grateful and humbled to be even included with them.
Winners received $5,000 to further their work in the local community. A Daring Clean Up Australia Day project has resulted in a police investigation in the Blue Mountains. Springwood Venturers and Blue Mountains State Emergency Service volunteers abseiled down Yellow Rock Point to remove rubbish as part of Sunday's Clean Up Australia Day. A rig was set up to lug bags of waste up the sheer rock face, a haul that included everything from electrical and household items to a piano.
A lot of televisions. We've found a few lights, a lawnmower, a whippersnipper, a lot of televisions. Mostly just things people don't want to get rid of at the tip. Can't be bothered to get rid of it there.
The group chose to clean up the area after becoming fed up with the amount of rubbish being dumped.
Well, we come abseiling here often and we're kind of sick of all the rubbish being here. So we decided to clean it up a bit.
Examination of some items revealed evidence of names and addresses, and police have launched an investigation to find out who is behind the dumping. The local council provided a skip bin for the occasion, which was quickly filled up by the volunteers. Erin Ross has taken over running the 20-year-old Campbelltown District Highland Dances. Long-time student Miss Ross was among the first who displayed the traditional Scottish techniques to the Macarthur community. The Campbelltown District Highland Dancers have their next display at Brigadoon in the Southern Highlands on April 21. And in sport, the Campbelltown Eagles are vowing redemption ahead of the 2012 Group 6 First Grade Rugby League season. The team has set their sights on mounting a serious premiership challenge following last year's grand final loss to Oakdale. Joint coaches Richard Barnes and Jason Hazelton believe their players have done the hard yards during pre-season training to be competitive. The Eagles are relying on Wayne Dunley, Sam Hoare and John De Silva to reproduce their good form. Teammates of injured West Tigers fullback James Tedesco are confident he has a long and successful career ahead of him despite a season-ending knee injury. Fellow player Chris Hyington says Tedesco has the world at his feet and will bounce back faster and stronger next year. Tedesco was stretchered off the field in the 30th minute of his first grade debut for the Tigers. Westfield sports student Daniel Solway faced off against Australian fast bowler Mitchell Stark during his debut in the Sydney grade competition last week. The 16-year-old was happy with his partnership of 47 with fellow Westfield sports student Jake Cormack. Solway says he will spend the off-season working on his technique and fitness, hopefully to be picked in the New South Wales under-19s team. Surfer Ian Ratso Buchanan returned to Cronulla last weekend to celebrate winning the World ASP Masters title. New Zealand-born Buchanan, 50, recently managed to topple Australia's former World Open surf champion, Wayne Rabbit Bartholomew, to win the World Masters title. And finally, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. Kids from Westmead Hospital got a sneak peek at Showbags in the run-up to the 2012 Royal Easter Show this week. Everything from traditional favourites like Birdie Beetle to the newest in kids' favourites was put through its paces, with children giving the bags a resounding thumbs up. Looks like fun. That's all we have time for today. Next week on TVS, a family's fight for safer roads following their daughter's tragic death. For information on any of these stories, pick up your local Fairfax community newspaper. We'll see you next time.